consultant now. And part of what I do, I'm a coach as well. Part of what I do, I spend quite a bit of my time um, hiring and advising C-suite leaders. So I'm mostly in oil and gas. So quite a lot of the companies in Nigeria, the oil and gas companies in Nigeria, a lot of their C-suite, they've come in through my firm. Why is that important? Because I get to spend a lot of time with these people who have big ideas, what they want to do, and they want to do big and great things. And I get to know. You can't hear, right? So if you don't mind, can you just move some? Yeah, because there's a lot of noise at the back. And if I shout too much, the other groups too, I will disturb the other groups. This is better? Okay. Okay, so I get on a day-to-day basis. Day-to-day basis, I get to spend a lot of time with business leaders whose aspirations is to build empires or to do big and great things. And I get to learn a lot from them and sort of coach them and work with them. So I'll share some of the thoughts from my experience as I go through the slides. Next slide, please. Okay, so okay, so we're talking about how do we grow from ideas to empires, right? And I want to start with the anatomy of growth. Every growth, whether it's of a child or humans or ideas, it starts with an idea. Someone has an idea, they want to do something. And then it moves on to sort of a startup where you, from the concept, you put it into practice. At some point, it really begins to, proof of concept, you start to grow it, and then hopefully ends up into becoming an empire, right? But there's two things I want to talk about that are really important in this process. And I'll come back to this process. Two things. Next slide. Two things. One is around, as you go through that sort of, okay, thank you. As you go through that sort of wheel, I should come there. Can you hear me? Okay. As you go through, what's important, two things, is are you intentional and are you present? And I explain both. These are words we use quite frequently, intentionality and presence. Are you intentional about the growth and about moving your ideas forward? And how intentional are you about that? Right? Because as you go through different phases, it's like, for example, I'll give an example. So my daughter and my son, when they were quite young, they went to two different schools. And I won't call the names. But my daughter went to a school where, my son went to a school, which, when we were teaching him about water, they said water has three phases, right? Solid, gaseous, and liquid. That's what they taught him. For my daughter, the school she went to, they said, so they took them to their, in the kitchen, they took water from the fridge, and said, liquid, they poured it into the kettle, and evaporated when it boiled, gas, and then of course when it cooled down, put it back in the fridge, and it turned to solid, right? So it's about understanding that it's still water, but it's going through different phases. As you go through from a visioneer to becoming an empire builder or someone who leads an empire, are you intentional in understanding that water and gas and solid is still water, but three different things, and you need to manage them sort of differently, or manage yourself differently? So you're here listening to me, whether as a coach or as a business leader. Okay. So whichever one, I'll try to oscillate, right? But you have to understand that. Second one is around presencing. Are you present, or are you living in the past or in the future? Let me explain what I mean by that. So some of us, we live in the future. We're always thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, how tomorrow will be better, and but how about today? What are you doing today? When you listen to Dr. OK, Enelama speak, one of the things he said is that success, or what they've done with our Capital Alliance, it's a day-to-day kind of endeavor. You live in the present, and as you move gradually, things just begin to happen. A lot of us, we get frustrated with the decisions we made today or yesterday. We get stuck, and we get stuck with that, that sort of where we are. Some of us is about the future, but really, life is about the present. What are you doing today to move ahead? So, as a business leader, as a coach, it's really around these two things. Are you intentional, and are you present about what's going on with you and around you? Right? But let's go back again to the next. So I'll just walk us through the sort of 4 phases as we go through. So typically, as you know, I meet people who say, I'm starting a business or an idea, I have something on to do. And you ask them, how clear is your idea? How clear are you about this thing you're talking about? So the first challenge for all of us, really, as you go through, is basically, as a founder, when you are like a founder, your vision, how clear are you about this vision? What are the boundaries? What will you do? What will you not do? So when I coach people, I'll tell them, do a T-table. What is in, what is out? So sometimes, just to be clear, you need to say, okay, this is in and this is out. And then you begin to switch between, okay, in and out. And then you get some clarity around, what am I trying, what's the idea, what am I trying to do? But it starts with, how clear is your vision? How clear in your mind are you about what you're trying to do? Right? Until you are clear, you can't really move forward. Or you can move, but you probably will come back again to that first step. So clarity is important. And as a coach, if you are dealing with someone who's at the ideation phase, then your challenge is providing clarity to that person. Your questions, the things you do with them is around clarity around, what am I trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? And as you move it up into startup, it's often around, can you survive? Can you survive? Now you are clear in your head. Now you probably get some money, but can you survive? Can you really grow that business? Right? So can you execute? Some of us can talk very well, and some of us here probably have invested in businesses where people talked a lot, and you give them money, but they couldn't execute. So around here, your challenge as a coach is, how do I ensure this person can build and actually can support them to execute? What are the tools around execution? When I listen to them, do I hear execution? How do I get them to that phase to see we've moved on from visioning to executioning? Right? That's important, because this is where it really hits zero. So strategy is strategy, but strategy is nothing without execution. Right? The best strategies are the ones that are executed, not the ones that are in your head. Right? So really, as a coach, how do I move you from thinking about your ideas to actually implementing those ideas, and what are you learning about them? And then the third one is basically, how do I scale this business? So it's working now, but I need to grow a bit of scale, if that's what you want to do. And sometimes these lines are not as clear. They're really not as clear, but how do I scale? Am I ready to scale this business? Do I have the support, the systems, I have the structures in place to scale this system, this company, right? So it's important to think about, here, you've moved from being a founder to a builder to now I want to lead this business. I want to lead this thinking. I want to lead myself, right? And I want to build people. So how do I begin to put systems in place to help me move on? So you heard, for example, where people say, look, it's time to step out of the business. Can you step out and things will still work? So your coaching challenge with this type of person is to say, look, what structure have you put in place to make sure you can scale? I'll give an example, and this is something I like talking about a lot. So we're in VI, right? In VI, who are the people who have in fact, in Lagos today, or on the island, who's running the fine dining business? Fine dining. Lebanese, right? So they're running the fine dining business in you can say even in Nigeria, right? Why is that so? Even a lot of the supermarkets, why is that so? So once because I asked this question, so I went to Lebanon and I said, look, how come you guys are successful in business that we are not successful as Nigerians? And here's what they said to me. They said to me, that's Nigerians, you guys have good ideas. You can even start here. But when it gets to here, to scale, and to put systems and structures, you guys are too much in a hurry. That you start a business, you don't sit in a business. So let's say, for example, you start a food business. What do? Instead of running my food shop, I go to NNPC, I go to Shell, I go to Total looking for business. And I leave one young man there, and they don't understand the customers. Therefore, over time, I guess after 6 months in Abuja, I get a contract, big contract. Or after 3 years, I get a contract. But that doesn't create a business. What creates a business is the systems and structure. So they understand the business. You can see them. If you go to the shops, even where they sell bookshops, where they sell chairs, you have a Lebanese or Bangladeshi person. Is that the till? Is that the store? Is that they are there in the business, understanding the business, they know their customers, they know what they want, and they are servicing the business. So the thing about it is that a lot of times, when you want to move from here, are you really committed to this business? I'm putting structures because you can only leave. I was talking to someone yesterday, a business leader, and I said to her, she was saying her challenge is, how do I go to a meeting, how do I get my people to take responsibility? And I asked her, what structures have you put in place? He says, we had a meeting. I was very frustrated about the meeting. I said, what questions are you asking in those meetings? Right? Because without structures, you can't move to the next place. You really can't. And then finally, it's around humility in leadership. How do you begin to stay humble? Because really, if you're going to grow to become, sort of dominant and all of that, you have to just be humble enough to understand that there's some things you don't know. You need help. You need coaches. You need help. You need people to help you, support you. So that humility, what brought you here, like one of the speakers said, what took you here may not get you here. Right? So you need to understand, now I need help. When you start, of course, you need to be the accountant when you start. You have to be the accountant. You have to be the marketer. You have to be the HR. You do everything at the beginning. But when you start getting here, structural systems, you need to be humble enough to say, look, when they say, oh, this doesn't work, you can step back, right, and actually begin to build that. Now, let's go into some more depth into, again, looking at these pieces, but just going to just a bit more depth around, as a coach, even as a business leader, what questions should you ask yourself as you navigate through these pieces? Is that okay? Okay. Next slide, please. And I have to read this because I'm sure it's very, probably quite small for some of you. So let me start here. So clarity, people start businesses, and the question is, this business you are starting, or this idea you have, who's willing to pay for it? What problem are you trying to solve? So the coaching question, so things in italics are the coaching questions, because I assume some of us here are coaches, some of us are business leaders. So what problem are you solving that people will pay for? Because if people are not paying for your problem or for what's your solution, then really you don't have a solution. Right? I have a lot of friends, the face of where I am in life right now. I have a lot of friends who have children who have just come back from university or come back from abroad, or they're abroad. And I ask them, well, what's your son, what's your daughter doing? Oh, they're trying to pilot a technology to turn cooking fat into energy, right? Nice idea. And I said, well, is he paying the rent? No. Is he paying for the internet? No. Now they can do that because mom and dad are paying for everything, so they're free to stay in this phase of ideation and spend time around that. But the question is, what problem are you solving that people are willing to pay for? Then you have a product. Until you have that, you don't have a product, right? And then the question is, why you and why now? Why you and why now? Why should people listen to you? And why do you think this is the right time for that idea? Because an idea that, there's several ideas that have happened, people have had in the past, but wrong timing and not the right person. So you have to ask yourself, why do you think you're the best person to carry this message or sell this story? And why now? All right? Again, it's just providing clarity to the person in their heads to say, look, yes, I'm ready to do this. Because as you go through, those questions come to your mind to say, look, am I in the right business? If you've answered it here, when you're having problems here, you have a solid foundation. So you know that is ticked. I need to just move on. Otherwise, you keep on coming back to say, I'm not sure. You know how you say, am I sure I married the right person? Don't shake your head, right? But you know, like, but if you did your work at the beginning here, even when you have problems, you say, look, I know I did the right thing. Does that make sense? Right? And then you move on to the next one, execution. So the questions are, when you get to execution, so I know I'm in the right business. I know I have the right ideas. I know it's me and it's now. This is the best time for this to happen now. Next question is, what three things will move this business forward? What are the things? Is it people that you need to get? Good people you need to get? Is it, because sometimes we say, oh, I need to just get, know more people, network a bit more. Well, do you have a product? I met someone recently, I think last week or so, virtually. I was introduced to this guy. And he says to me, I don't have, which is true. He said to me, I only answered your email because you were referred by somebody. He says, in my business, which is done for about 20 years now, he says, we only work by referrals. We never advertise. We only work by referrals, which means that I know what I'm doing. I'm good at what I do. I don't need to look for business. People look for me. His office, Jobin's office in London, the office is just a house. No address, no security, nothing. It's just a house. Only those who know come there. Because they're looking for a solution. And he said to me, he's a coach as well. He said, some of my clients, so imagine this. He said, I have a client who travels between Gaza, Baghdad, when he's allowed to go into Baghdad, Moscow, Ukraine. Who's that kind of person? Who's traveling between Moscow, Kiev, South Sudan? A terrorist. But he says his clients are like MI6, military people, senior business leaders who are looking for a solution. Think about it. We've been fighting Boko Haram, right? The major generals, who do they talk to? Don't you think they need a coach? Indeed, they're under high pressure. So my point is, when you understand what you're trying to do, and you know what things you need to do to move your business forward. He was very clear from the beginning. He said, with my partner, we said we will never advertise. People will always look for us because we will do our work well, right? And that's about execution. That what are you doing and what are you avoiding? Some of us, sometimes the reason you're not moving ahead with your business because you're avoiding either failure or disappointment or mistakes. That's why you're not going ahead. But you only learn by doing. When I was to learn how to drive, when I was to drive, I'd watched my father drive when I was growing up. And back in the days, my friend taught me how to drive. So, of course, when I'm washing my father's car in the morning, I'll sit down and turn it a little bit, move the gear, the sticky gear, and I thought I knew how to drive. And then one day my friend says, okay, you want to drive? I say, yes. So he takes me to, sort of a side road, really side road. And his car was air conditioned, but I was sweating so badly, sweating because I couldn't understand why this thing that looks so easy becomes so difficult. And that's what happens here. Some of us, or some of you here, listen to me, the reason you're not making progress is because you're avoiding to be told you are not good enough. When I said to you, I work with lots of very senior executives. A lot of these people I work with, they have never failed in their lives. Never. They've gone to the best schools, worked in the best companies. They don't know how to fail. They don't know how to fail. And so when they get to that very top, that's the first time it hits them. That the boss tells them that what you are doing is not working. They can't take it. So some of us, the reason you're not moving ahead is because you can't take someone telling you that, this thing you're doing is not quite working. Systems in place for things to run. So you can't leave the business. That's why you can't sleep well. That's why you always attend to things, because you haven't built a system and structures to make things happen. All right? So again, working with them is basically asking, if you're working with a coach and this is the challenge, then it's this kind of question you should be asking. What are the bottlenecks stopping you from scaling up as you should? Next slide, please. Okay, how does your business make money? Now, this sounds very easy, but I can tell you it's the most difficult. And I'll explain what I mean. In every business, and I'll go very, very basic, very basic. If you go to the woman who sells akara down the road, right? Sometimes you see her, she'll say, oh, she'll tell her daughter, add one more fisi, right? Add something. How does she know that fisi should still make money? They understand how they make money. In every business, the part that people protect the most is how you make money. So the question is, for your business idea, do you really know how you make money? Because the fact that you put in a tender, you have a big contract, or someone gives you a contract, and you pay something, some money in advance, whatever it is you do, and you get some money back, doesn't mean you understand how to make money. How does that business make money? How do you create value in that business? Right? Because if you don't know how to create value, you can't scale. So it's really asking, what drives your revenue growth? What time of the year? What time of the day? What time of the month does your revenue change? Do you understand your business very well and your customers? Because if you don't, then you really can't scale. We talked about a bit earlier on. Are you building the team, or are you doing everything by yourself? Some of us will say, yes, we are building the team, but the question is really, can you step away from the business? Right? When I work with leadership teams, for example, what I ask them is, so let's say, for example, this leadership team here. And of course, in most companies, you say things like, oh, we know what we're doing. I will ask them things like, for example, give me 2 or 3 top priorities that you guys have, each person by themselves. When we put it together, you find out that often it's not the same priorities. They work in the same team, they go same meeting every Monday morning, but the priorities they have are different. So the question is, are you building a team that understands, what the pains of the business are, who the customers are? Are you building a team, or are you doing things by yourself? Again, it comes back to what, like I said, looking at the diary. If I look at your diary and all the meetings you're attending by yourself, then of course you're not building a team. Customers, you're going by yourself. Regulators, you're going by yourself. You're not building a team, so you cannot grow that business. The day you have to leave or something comes up, nothing moves. You are the face of, now at the beginning it's good to be the face of the business, and you should be the face of the business at the beginning. You have to, because that's how you build culture. But as you grow further, you have to spread that. You can't be the face of the business in every way, shape, and form, right? The other one is also then, what processes are repeatable? Once a process is repeatable, it's easy to move ahead. Once the process is repeatable, so once you have a system that works, then you don't think about it. So in your business, what processes are repeatable? So again, ask your business, when you coach them, how many processes are repeatable that just by themselves, they can do, things can just work by themselves? What percentage of your systems or processes? And then what can be systematized, right? Whether you're billing, whether you're, how you talk to your customers, customer engagement, your service calls, what can be systematized? Because once you can do it with systems, then you don't need to spend time on that, but because that makes you grow faster. So again, you can't scale and really become an empire builder without some of these things. The last one is strategic blindness. So sometimes we get so caught up in doing a lot of things, we don't think about the future. So where is your business going to in the next 10, 15 years? Where are you going to next? Even, and again, you can apply this even to your life. Where are you going to with your family next 10, 15 years? Are you clear around that? And then, what must be true for that to happen? What succession have you put in place for that to happen? Right? Because your business will not go further if you don't put these things in place. So, again, it comes back to humility. People say, without me, nothing can be done. Once you have that mindset that without nothing can be done, then really, you have just limited your business to just you. Right? Okay. Last slide, I can take questions, because I think we can get more when we ask questions. Couple of things here. So idea, you can say are cheap, because again, if you go to AI will give you tons of ideas on how to get things done, right? But execution is everything, right? Everybody knows how to get things done. I mean, how to start a business, selling ice cream, whatever it is. But can you really execute? That's what makes the difference. Growth requires structures and systems. So if you are really going to grow, you have to think about how do I have structures and systems in place. Extremely important to have that in place. And then you as a leader, you must evolve as a leader. You must evolve as a leader. So Dr. Okay, talking today about how, at the time he had all the ideas, now he wants to listen. So how are you evolving as a leader? What changes? So if I see you in 5 years' time, or if I call people who knew you 5 years ago, how would they say you have changed in terms of your leadership? Because that's quite important. How you evolving as we move from water to block to air, sort of vapor, water. How are you changing in your leadership? Are you listening more? Are you learning more? What have you learned recently? Coaching. What coaching does for us as coaches, what we do is to accelerate. Like the chairman said, the president said rather, is that coaching is about taking people from one place to the other. It's about a coach. What coaching does, it just helps you accelerate and brings clarity and accountability. So when you need clarity, when you need accountability, you need a coach. Very important, because you can't get clarity just by yourself all the time. That's why you look at the mirror, so you're clear about what's happening. So what a coach does for you is bring that clarity. The same guy I was talking to last week, he said to me, when I said to him, I made a statement, I said, oh, leaders at the top are very lonely. He said, no, I don't use that statement. He said they are lonely in their thinking. They're not lonely. They have wives, husbands, all of that. They're not lonely. But in their thinking, they are lonely. And I learned from that. It says in their thinking, because they think alone. And they don't talk a lot. So in their thinking, their conception, they're lonely. But not that they're lonely. They're not quite lonely. But in their thinking, they're lonely. So the question is, who do you have to with you? Who do you speak to? Who do you bounce ideas of? Who's your sounding board? Right? And then finally, empires are never built by accident. Very intentional. Very intentional. It's doing one thing at a time. I have a senior friend, I'll call him, but he's also a client. Some of you will know him, Mr. Avuru, who's the one of the founders of Seplat. And if you listen to him, if you talk to him anytime, he will tell you, people look at Seplat today. Seplat is a great company. That what we did was we did one thing well at a time. Do what you have to do well at a time. That then buys you investors, that buys you confidence, that buys you trust to grow. But when you say, oh, I have a 5-year vision, which is good, I'm not saying no, don't have that, but do one thing, and one thing done well at a time is like several short runs lead to one long run. Does that make sense? Several short runs lead to a long run. So long run is good, but do the short run, because several short runs will lead to a long run. Let me stop. Questions, comments? Questions, comments?
Thank you very much, sir. That was very good and insightful. My question is around the when you were talking about the Lebanese and why they succeed at business. It was very profound, because you said, how they focus on doing one thing and then, they stay with it. I'm at that stage too where, I'm trying to focus on a thing, but then there's also the opposite side of cash flow, to say, we need cash, I need cash, right? You need cash to live, right? But then you're saying you want to focus on this thing and watch it grow. So how do you manage that balance, right? To say, okay, I want to build my coaching business, but of course we know how coaching can be. Of course, maybe the clients are not getting them because you're still in the starting phase, but you're also pressed for cash, to run your daily life. How do you, draw that balance? How do you, such that you're not losing focus, but then you're not also going broke?
Okay, so our question is, in the quest to to grow, you need cash to grow, and you need cash to survive. So when I said, for example, people say stay at one thing, and Lebanese stay at one thing for a while. How do you stay at one thing if you're not making money? So a couple of things to think about. One is, like I said, why me? Why now? Why me? Why now? Sometimes we start off businesses without thinking them through, Because you see, Nigeria is the, let me call it the copy capital of the world. It's the copy capital of the world. What do I mean by that? Let someone start a shawarma business here. The next week on that same street, you see another shawarma business. Because we don't know how to make money. That's why I said, a lot of us don't, what's the business model? How does shawarma make money? We don't know that. We just, oh, someone is doing coaching. I mean, you hear things like, I'm a life coach, I'm a that coach, I'm a this coach. But do you know how a life coach makes money? Right? So you have to understand very well. Go back to the basics and ask yourself, really, is this what I want to do? Because everything you have to do, see, everything that grows up first grows down. That's the way it works. You first have to sort of go down, dig deep, and then when it begins to come up, people wonder, oh, what happened here? But it looks like you're not making progress at first. So I think stick to it, because your customers will be the ones who come there every day and see you and you talk to, and how will I put it? Focus on the service. My case will be different, because you can say, well, you know, I worked in a place where I probably had a bit of money before I started. But when I left, I mean, I have people who know me here. When I left, I didn't leave to start a business. I left because I was just tired. You know, I was tired. By God, I'd grown a bit, quite senior. I said, look, it's time to move. So I moved. We've done this business now for 13 years. In the past 13 years, 99% of our business, 99%, has come by referrals. We hardly ever bid. Hardly ever bid. Because when I was before I left, you know, when I was still working for Shell, I came to someone like this, and I met a lady called Ifweko Moigwi. Some of you know her. Ifweko used to be also in Arthur Anderson, and then FIRS made her popular. So I asked her, how do you start a business, like you're asking me now? And she said, look, wherever you are today, wherever you're working, and she said to me, just keep on doing what you're doing, do it very well. That your customers will come from inside, not from outside. Yes, because people say, look, do you know a good coach? They say, go and talk to Anita. Do you know a good coach? Go and talk, because she was always very good about this. So don't put money first. You will go through the pains. You have to go through the pains. But if you stick to it, people will come back to you and get your service. But you have to go through that growth phase. The growth phase, always, you can't just keep, no, you have to go through a growth phase where you have to wonder whether am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Yeah, but stick to it, because when you stick to it, think about it. The woman who sells corn at the you know, the corner of the road, she's selling corn. Elsewhere, she has an amala business. Do you understand? But if you go there every day and she has corn, you will know that every day I can get corn from here. After a while, people know. It's just that we are very impatient in Nigeria, very, very impatient. So once you can be patient a bit, you will know. And people will know that, okay, this person, go here. I mean, I get calls. All my business development is my phone. I don't have any business development. I just get calls. Oh, I heard you can do this. You know, can you do that for me? Because I've stuck, like Patrina would say, Mr. Consistent. Yeah, I've stuck to, you have to do this. After a while, I mean, think about it. There's a picture I have, my laptop isn't here, but think about, just picture it in your head. When you see on a river stream, a river bed, you see stones, right, and rocks. Over time, just the water just going through over the stones become smooth. But they were rugged and rugged. But just over time, water, as gentle as water is, over time. So it's just the staying power. Just stay with it, right?
All right, thank you very much, sir, for sharing. Just to pinpoint one of the things as a complement to the question. Okay, all right, thank you. So my question is, given Nigeria as the case study right now, the coaching industry is growing, not as receptive as it should be yet. And I'm glad we have a conference like this that could shed more light and enlightenment and all of that. So my question to you is, you know, from your story examples, you referenced how most of the businesses you have came on referrals. Which was the leverage you had because of where you were coming from? So for an upcoming coach, right, what's your best advice on how to monetize this coach and how to get clients that will really pay? All right.
So our question is, as an upcoming coach or business person, could be other businesses, How do you monetize? How do you make sure people pay for your services? How do you price well, right? Okay. So how do you determine the price? I'll probably come back because we all have different views about that. But let me answer the first one, and it's still the same thing I'll say. How do I start coaching? Remember, coaching is for the person, not for you. I see somebody, I say, look, let me put it this way, and maybe it's me. I pay attention to you. What's your need? I want to support you on your journey. I tell you, anybody you support on their journey, anybody you support on the journey, it may not be today, they'll remember you. They will. Last two weeks ago, I had a sorry. I had a call. I had a call with a board, and on that call, they were asking me what they wanted me to hire their CEO and COO. On that call, they said to me, "Who have you hired before?" So I called a list of companies I've hired the CEOs and C-suite for, and they said to me, "These are the actual words. You are lying." Those are they would say, "You are lying." I was very upset, but of course I managed myself, and I said to them, "I said, call this man, call this man, call this man. If you call them and you say I hired them, and they say, then I'm lying." Next day, one of the CEOs I hired before sent me a WhatsApp message. They called him. He sent a message to them to say, "Look, he not only hired me, but he coached me for free for about 18 months. For free." That's my point. So how much do you think I get from coaching a CEO? A lot of money by coaching for free. So it's not about how much money because I was comfortable. No, it's about I see somebody who's struggling. I want to help. As long as I help, I'm sowing seeds. Those seeds must come back. So the thing is, we're too much. So just have a mindset. I'm here to provide service to people. That's it. I want to serve people, whether it's selling akara, selling hair, whatever it is. I want to provide service. So those of you who sell hair, for example, you sell hair and it's gone. Why don't you call the person back? How did the hair work? Did it work for you? How do you follow up? So provide service. Once you provide service, people will pay for service. I say very quickly, I say in Nigeria, I'm talking about pricing. Now Nigeria is one of the easiest places to do business. Why do I say so? I'll tell you why. How many of you here, you can raise your hand. How many of you are satisfied with your tailor? You have a tailor that you're very happy with, or a mechanic, or a hairdresser. I can keep on going. All of us, almost all of us, are looking for somebody else who can do something for us because the one we have today is not working. So there's space to just be excellent and make money in this country.
So thank you very much, Mr. Ted, for that insightful section. So my name is Tolu Lokbe. I'm a career coach. I help students and young graduates in career clarity and transition. So during your section, you spoke about the 4 different phases: the ideation, the startup, growth, and empire. So, and I understand that there are different values and strategies that is needed for each of those phases. So my question is, I have 2 questions. The first is, how do you know when to transition from the first phase, like the ideation stage, to startup and all that? Because you talked about patience, and a lot of people are not patient to know when. So my question, how do you know when to transition to the next phase? And the second one, you talk about being the face of your business. I understand that if you want to build a system, there is disadvantage of you being the face of your business, because when clients are coming and they want to see you, they want you to serve them, and if you are not available, they don't build confidence on your other team members. So how do you balance this? Thank you.
So the first one, for me, is pay attention to the person you are coaching. See, if you don't pay attention, so don't follow their models. That's just a model. Pay attention. You can tell when they're what questions are they asking you. What are they struggling with? I know for the of coaching for the person. That's what I'm saying. So you are coaching a student, for example, right? Pay attention to what are they struggling with. What questions are they asking? Do you understand? That's how you know, okay, they are ready now. So, for example, Mike said, oh, what's her name? The lady. Yes. Funke. That Funke, you are now ready to become a business leader because he paid attention. So the thing is about coaching. Coaching is about the person, not about you. Just pay attention to say, what are you going through? How can I be of service to you? You are just here to service. That's it. Right? Yeah. So typically, coaching, when I was taught coaching, when you go your session, what do you want to work on today? It's about the person, not what you came with. It's what they want to work on. Right? Second question was about being the face. So it's about you have to start by being the face. But you have to then multiply yourself. Put those values into, again, let me just quote, Jesus came, had 12 disciples. So you have to put yourself into people, and then they become your disciples. But you have to spend time with them, put yourself into them, so you create more of you.
Well, thank you. Hello? Okay. Thank you for this session. You were a paid employee of Shell. How did you transition? Hello? How did you transition your mindset from a paid employee to an entrepreneurial mindset to build your consulting firm?
So her question, can you hear me? Okay. Her question is, I should come this side. Sorry, I'm in service of the people. People want me here, so I'm here. So the question is, I was a paid employee in Shell. How did I transition from being a paid employee to become a consultant? Right? When I was, again, like I said, when I was in Shell, a lot of things. So I started coaching inside Shell, not paid. I started consulting inside Shell, sort of paid. I learned, again, I was blessed to have worked, we have a consulting outfit in head office, in The Hague. That's why I learned consulting. That's why I learned how to price. I learned but the point is, it's not about learning. The key thing is, I never selected work. I was willing to do anything anybody asked me to do, and I was willing to help. So once you have that mindset to help and to support people, it just goes with you. So when I came out, for example, I have a lot of clients today who, when I start working with them, we don't even talk about money. We don't. It's always the work first, and then money comes later. Because I know, and I tell my clients, look, if I say, for example, my service to you is, let's say, 12 million naira, you have 1 million in your budget, we'll just irritate each other because going back and forth. And I know most companies have a budget. They won't go more than 10% above the budget. So I don't bother about what is this. If I give you good service, you come back. So it's a mindset of service. That's how you start.
What I was looking for was your mindset, because in paid employment, people come to you, okay? But when you go into entrepreneurial skills and you have your business, you will suffer rejections, and you're not used to that from your paid employment. So how did you change your mind? The rejections, how did you cope?
So our question is, when you are in paid employment, for example, people come to you. So I worked in HR for the most part of my career. I worked in HR. Now, why would someone come to you as HR and not the next HR person? Because you are different. Because you provide service. So that same service mindset is what that's what helped me coming out. So I didn't stop my work by, here's 5 o'clock, I've stopped work. That's not my problem. No. When I was in service, that same mindset is what I carry through. So I tell people, look, you can't say, for example, when I start my own business, I will do like this. No, you do it now. If you do it now, it will go with you. If you wake up in the morning, 7 o'clock, when you start your business, you wake up in the morning, 7 o'clock. It's the same thing. So don't wait. Some of us say, when I start my business, I'll be more faithful, I'm more like this. No, do it now. In fact, you're actually using someone else's money to train yourself. So do it now, because if you do it now, your colleagues will know you. When you go out there, most of my business today comes from my ex-colleagues who say, look, go to Ted, he will help you. And money is not the issue.
All right. Thank you, Coach Ted. Now, my question is you mentioned those four cycles: ideation, startup, growth, and empire. You didn't say anything about training. How does training come into all of this? Training to become what you be, to reinforce ideas, to take you to startup and eventually make it an empire. Where does training come into this?
So he asked the question, where does training come into that cycle? Training is everywhere, all around, because training starts from you knowing that I lack. So you heard Mrs. Onome say, I knew I needed help. It starts from you saying, I need help. Then you go and get the help. Whether it's training on the job, coaching, whatever it is, it starts with you saying, I need to carry more weight. How do I carry more weight? It starts from you being conscious about what you need to have. Then you can, the solution is training, but it starts with, what do I need? What am I missing? What do I need more? But it's in all.
Sorry, I don't want to add to his question. In all of this, building an empire, what's the percentage of the people that are around you, your staff? You mentioned here that ideas are cheap, execution is everything. How important are the people around you to build up your empire, or is it just your ideas?
So it says, how important are the people around you? How important are your staff? When you are building, how important are your staff? Your staff are actually important. So here's how I put it. I read a book a while ago, In Search of Excellence, right, by Tom Peters, the guy who started McKinsey. He says, where is the company without the people? So think about it. On Friday afternoon or Friday evening, when people leave the office, where is the company? The company is in the people's head, Sabi? If you don't go to, see, all of you sitting here, if you work in any company, if you don't go back to work today, the company is in your head. So the people are the most important. So hiring the best people, nurturing the best people, actually important. Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. Okay, my question is, okay, we've all been told that we shouldn't be money conscious at the beginning. And for you to be into business, you need to have some substantial amount of money for you to run your business. So my question is, there are times that, okay, let me use you, sir, as an example for your startup coach period. How were you able to survive the period that nothing was coming in? Because we understand that there are some period in business or even as a startup, it looks dry. Nothing is coming up. You've done whatever that is needed. Even while you're being good, while you're being nice, there are times that it just looks dry. Nothing is coming. How do you, what advice would you give to be able to manage that period?
Okay, so in my own case, what I did was I was very clear in my head. I was not going to be a businessman in the sense of going to sell contracts, sell things, because I don't have power for that. I knew myself. I knew my biggest power was here. So I developed here. And here doesn't need money. It doesn't need money. Here it needs effort and energy. I don't need to go and buy, I don't need to know the price of copper, to buy copper low and sell it high. I don't need to know that. I need to be here. So know your business very well. Know what you are good at. So if I was going to do government business, for example, I have to be in parties, I have to know people, I have to do all of that. I don't have energy for that. So I don't do that. So define your space very well and grow yourself in that space because, so for example, my cost of business is very low. But if I were to sell fast food, for example, I need a house, I need a this, I need a that. But people who know how to do that, they know how to do it. So know your business very well, then develop yourself in that space. But you have to go through that phase. You can't want to just grow. No, you have to go through the phase. You have to. So if you need money to start your business, then get partners. Get partners. If you are going to start, if I was going to start business today that needs capital, it makes sense to get partners. Otherwise, you can't. Or you get a loan. Otherwise, you can't go through. But the thing is, believe in your ideas that when you are going through and it's not working, it will take time, but it will work. Just don't give up. Yeah. But you have to know your business. You can't just start a business without thinking about how do I fund this business. The child should stop. The child should stop.
Thank you so much. Sorry, we're out of time. We need to move on to the next session. So if you could please just turn your seats facing the stage. You don't need to move them. Just turn your seats facing the stage. But before we do that, please a big round of applause for our speaker. Thank you so much, Ted. Thank you. Yeah. So if you could just turn your seats to face the stage.